You got it, buddy?
I think so. It's been a while. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Are we live?
Yep, we're live.
Breaking news! Donald Trump is going live on X Spaces! I'm launching a full taxpayer investigation on Trump's return to X. I'm moving to Canada! Please donate to my GoFundMe account. Here goes my campaign! All right! Reagan's back!
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. These negative headlines regarding Elon Musk, Donald Trump on Spaces, on X are predictable as crap. Lefties are losing it. They're going out of their mind. Shout out to everybody watching. Drop where you're watching this out of in the comment section down below. Don't forget to hit the like button and also hit subscribe. Thank you guys so much for joining me. The negative headlines across the intro webs, across the internet, are crazy bananas. They're talking a whole bunch of mess. I'm going to share this. I don't know if you guys have been seeing the headlines, but oh boy. These are all the, can I make this bigger? I cannot. These are all the negative headlines. I got to zoom in. Light on news. Heavy on personality. Donald Trump rambles and lies. Donald Trump and Elon's music, a tale of two struggling social media entrepreneurs. What else? Donald Trump and Elon Musk conversation on X took forever to start. Sorry, I had to look at this screen because this one is so small. It's a collage of images, so it's small, very small. The negative headlines on this are crazy, and they are trying to spin it. They are spinning it. And in the meantime, Kamala Harris is spending money on ads. So Harris campaign has been editing news headlines and descriptions with Google search ads to make it appear as if The Guardian, CBS News, and other major publishers are on her side. This is an article from Axios. Oh, and shout out to United Spot, by the way, for the intro video. Super dope. How many of you guys like the intro video? I thought it was cool. We got a couple other ones too. Harris campaign Google ad rewrites news headlines. So these are the news headlines. She's rewriting them to make it appear like APN News, U.S. Today are writing these. Tim Walz, military service, 24 years in the National Guard. Kamala Harris, vice president. Kamala Harris. Harris will lower health costs. Harris campaign has been editing news headlines and descriptions with Google search ads to make it appear as if Guardian, Reuters, CBS News, and other major publishers are on her side. This is what Axios found. Why it matters. It is a common practice in commercial advertising world that does not violate Google's policy, but the ads mimic real news results from search closely enough that they have news outlets caught off guard. According to Google Ad Transparency Center, Donald Trump's campaign isn't running any of these type of ads, but the technique has been used in campaigns before. The ads say that they're sponsored ads. So it looks like the ads are sponsored by CBS or ABC or whatever it is. what they're saying is, while we understand why the organization might wish to align itself with the Guardian's trusted brand, we need to ensure that it's being used appropriately and with our permission. We'll be reaching out to Google for more information about this practice, as a Guardian spokesperson stated. Spokesperson from brands to CNN and USA Today and NPR, whose links appear in Harris's ads, said they were unaware their brand was being featured in that way. This isn't the first time that she's stating that these people are in her campaign, that they're aligned with her, but they're not. They're not aligned with her. And people are actively coming out and saying, we don't agree with her. We are not with her. Facebook, however, banned the ability for advertisers to edit text from instant article news links in 2017. Sources familiar with Harris's campaign ads team said campaign buys search ads with news links to give voters searching information about Vice President Harris more context. The campaign is compiled with all the Google Ads rules, blah, blah, blah. But what they're doing is they're attempting to promote these other news outlets and other individuals to say, hey, they're behind us. They're with us, guys. They're with us. And CNN, after the conversation with Elon and Trump, CNN chopped and screwed up the conversation. So they edited it just like they did. I don't know if you guys heard, they did the same thing. MSNBC did the same thing with Joe Rogan. They took an insert of Joe Rogan. Let me see if I can find it real quick. So they took an insert of Joe Rogan speaking about Tulsi Gabbard, and they chopped it up, making it sound like he was talking about Kamala Harris. MSNBC. And right now, I just pulled this up. As of the 4th, Joe Rogan is suing MSNBC for $30 million for editing and splicing up the video to make it sound like he was pro Kamala Harris, but he was actually criticizing her. They did this before. They did this before. I'm going to jump into this video real quick, and then I'm going to share with you the video that they chopped, and they chopped it up and sound like Elon and Trump were talking about something else.
About this, but MSNBC was exposed today for yet another set of lies. They deceptively edited together this video of different Joe Rogan comments to make it appear that he was singing the praises of Kamala Harris.
She's going to win. No, she's not. She can win. She is a strong woman. She is a person who served overseas twice. She in a medical unit. So she was a congresswoman for 8 years.
He's talking about Tulsi Gabbard. Kamala Harris never served in a medical unit. And MSNBC, this is from MSNBC's TikTok account. They have since removed this.
Yeah. She is a person of color. She's everything you want. She's going to win. No, she's not. She can win. They just want no Trump, no matter what.
This is not reflective at all of the truth of what Joe Rogan said. And I think MSNBC has since taken this post down. But what's really serious here is that not only does Joe Rogan deserve an apology, there's actually something far bigger at stake here. This is yet another example of how MSNBC is working hand in glove with the Democrat elite and the Kamala Harris campaign to try to spread lies, simply things that are not true. So what this means is MSNBC is a for-profit corporation. They are helping Kamala Harris's election campaign. And what they are doing through their platform would qualify as an in-kind contribution to her campaign. It's worth a lot of money. The fact that they are doing this should require the Federal Elections Commission that manages campaign spending and campaign finance to require them to report this as an in-kind campaign contribution or to be punished for abusing their position in trying to use their platform that has nothing to do with journalism. It is purely a propaganda platform, and that they are using this in order to try to help Kamala Harris get elected.
Now we're going to jump into what they showed of the Kamala Harris campaign, or excuse me, the Elon Musk and Trump interview. They are going to, they chopped it up. Let me pop it, pop, lock, and drop it. And this is CNN.
I want to play one exchange.
I want you guys to listen to this closely. And you guys already know that are watching the channel and that have been supporting the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, by the way, and hit the subscribe. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. I really appreciate you guys. But those of you that have been watching this channel and supporting the channel, we already know. Fake news.
That was kind of classic. Well, there were a lot of exchanges that were classic Donald Trump, but this one really stuck out to us.
And Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So
Right,
it's
right,
really
right.
not something that, you know,
That's right.
so it's not as scary as people think, basically.
So that was more Elon Musk than Donald Trump talking about, sort of suggesting that what happened almost 80 years ago, I think 80 years ago next year, the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, now it's okay. Kind of trying to blow off the. So that was more Elon Musk.
Why are they doing
That's
that?
right.
It's
Right.
really like
Let's do
full
this
cities were bombed, but now and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So
Right,
it's
right,
really
right.
not
That's
something that, you know.
That's
um,
right.
So it's not as scary as people think, basically.
And this,
Yeah, and actually,
this is what
Yeah, and
this is
actually,
what the conversation.
yeah, and
They took a 2-minute and 18-second insert and chopped it up into 40 seconds. But this is what they really said.
actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war, very bad side. But there's also, I think, nuclear electricity generation
Absolutely.
is underrated.
You're right.
And it's actually, you know, people have this fear of nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. And if you look at the injuries and deaths, you know, caused by, say, I mean, I'm not going to try to pick on coal mining, but just any kind of mining operation. And there's a certain number of injuries and deaths per year. And you compare that to nuclear. Nuclear is actually way better. So it's underrated as an electricity source, and I think it's something that's worth reconsidering. But there's so much regulation that people can't get it done. So that, you know,
Maybe they'll have
sort
to
of
change the
have it,
name.
you know.
The name is just, it's a rough name. There are some areas like
It's a rough
like when
name.
you see what happened in
Good bad
right,
branding. The
we'll have
branding
to
rough.
rebrand it. We'll have to give it a good name. We'll name it after you or something. You know,
No,
it has a branding problem. You know, when you see what happened,
it does have a branding problem.
when you see what happened in Japan, where they say you won't be able to go on the land for about 3,000 years. Did you ever see that? And in Russia, where they had the problem, where they, you know, there's a lot of bad things happened, and they have a problem. And they say that in 2,000 years, people will start to occupy the land again. You know, you realize it's pretty bad.
No,
but,
that's not true.
But you're right about it. It's amazing.
It's actually not that bad. So like after Fukushima happened in Japan, like people were asking me in California, you know, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. And I donated a solar water treatment, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
Yeah, but you haven't
because
been
the danger
feeling
is
so
just-
well lately, and I'm worried about it.
No, but I mean,
I'm
it's
only
just,
kidding.
It's
I'm
fine, you know. It's like you know, Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So
Right,
it's
well,
really
that's great.
not
That's
something that, you know.
That's right.
So it's not as scary as people think, basically.
Yeah.
But
Chopped it up. Chopped it up. What do you guys think about that? Chopping it up. I don't know why they're doing that. Probably because they're losing. Nikki Haley destroys Kamala Harris and Tim Walz today. Let's jump into that real quick. What do you guys think about that? Did you guys watch? Shout out to everybody that was at the watch party, though. Kudos to everybody that was at the watch party. I really appreciate you guys watching. It was a great conversation, I thought. It was a great conversation. And shortly after the conversation, Kamala Harris's team, they had posted let's see if I got it. Where is it at? Oh, so Kamala Harris released a tweet on X after the conversation. Many of you guys were asking about it. So here it is right here. This is from the Harris and Walz campaign. So shortly after the Elon and Trump interview on X Spaces, right now Elon is interviewing Donald Trump live on Twitter. We're not calling it X. It's not enough that Elon Musk has pledged to donate millions of dollars to help re-elect Donald Trump. He's using his Purchase platform, one of the largest social media sites in the world, to spread Trump's unhinged and hateful agenda to millions of users. If that's all you need to hear, chip in $25 now to help Kamala and Tim have the resources to respond to their lies. Otherwise, let us remind you that this is a big deal. The richest man in the world is a lackey for Team MAGA. Musk already ruined Twitter by allowing hate speech and disinformation to flood the platform. Now Musk is using his vast fortune and broad reach to control our democracy. They're losing it. They are losing it. Here is Nikki Haley. Speaking about my guy, before we jump into this, she's going to be talking about our guy. Where is this at? Where's the button? Here it is.
Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz is trending on social media as Tampon Tim.
And calling him, explain this one to me. Tampon Tim?
And I'm going to say this out loud. Republicans are calling him Tampon Tim.
Republicans on social media referring to him as Tampon Tim.
So Tampon Tim.
Online, the trending thing is Tampon Tim or something like that.
But here's the big one. If you haven't heard, it's called Tampon Tim. And that's kind of going very viral here.
Oh, man.
And when I look at the issues and I look at the differences between the two candidates we've been given, there's no question that I want to see Donald Trump win this election, because we can't have a Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I mean, all you have to do is look at what Kamala Harris has said. She doesn't think illegal immigrants are illegal. She thinks that we should give them free education, free place to live, free health care. Tim Walz thinks socialism is neighborly, and he's gone a step further and thinks we should give them free tuition. They want to raise taxes. You look at everything that's happened with our economy already. We can't afford that. More than anything, from a national security perspective, you can't go to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who have not had the foreign policy experience, and the experience they do have is that they want to expand the Iran deal and give more money to a terrorist organization that says death to America. There's a lot of differences there. We are where we are. And right now, for me, for my family, for those that I love, and as a voter, I think we need to hope that Donald Trump wins this election.
Facts. Facts. How many of you guys feel the same? Democratic message to the people. This voter has a PSA to the Democrats. She listened to the entire interview of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. She listened to the entire interview, and what she thinks is what 90% of people who heard the interview yesterday thought as well. And if you haven't listened to the interview, I'll place it in the description below. And I believe it starts at like 56:27. It's time-stamped on the video itself. So if you want to check it out, you can go ahead and watch it. But this is what she has to say.
Hi, I had to come on here today to talk about the interview that Elon Musk had with President Donald Trump last night. When I got on X this morning, I saw all of these negative headlines from our media about how bad the interview was. Now, if you didn't listen to the interview, you would think that Donald Trump said he was going to do something to everybody in the world. Let me tell you what it was. I sat there, and I normally don't listen to speeches or interviews, but I sat there and I listened to the entire thing, and it was really quite amazing. And I would implore any politician to say the same thing. If you want people to vote for you, then you need to address issues that are important to people. And so instead of the Democrat Party constantly bashing Donald Trump, you know what they need to do? This is what I say to them. You say the same things. You address the same issues. You address inflation. You address the war. You address freedom of speech that you guys are trying so hard to remove from everyone. When you address those same issues, or if you address those same issues, then your party platform would be about issues and not about Donald Trump. It is the weirdest thing to me. And then people fall for it. I when I was reading the comments, I was like, I just listened to this whole thing and I couldn't believe I did. But I did. I said, but you know why I listened to the whole thing? Because he talked about things that were important to Americans. Democrats, start talking about things that are important to Americans and stop pandering. Stop saying you're going to give away something for free. And then address why you're giving everything to illegal immigrants. Talk about this illegal immigration. It's what I call the Black replacement plan. And now I know everybody's like, they're replacing everybody. Yeah, that's true. But I'm going to tell you why it's so important to us. We're now only a little between 13 and 14% of the population. They say they brought in 20 million illegal immigrants. That's one of the numbers that I've heard. And, you know, it's not confirmed. One of the numbers that I've heard, because of course they're not going to tell us how many for real. And they have no idea themselves. But when that happens, we're only over 40 million. So just think, they brought in adults, and mostly adult men, that are half of our population. Do you think that will not affect what they're going to do in our communities? Do you think that won't affect what's going to happen with schools in predominantly Black communities, Hispanic communities? Do you think that will not affect us? So I say to you, instead of you jumping on and being the party of intimidation, being the party of constant hatred, why don't you start addressing issues just like Trump did?
Yes.
One of the things that he said that I thought was so important is Elon said something about the CO2 levels in the world right now. And I was so glad because, you know, that climate change thing, that's another one of the firm's things. Donald Trump says, no, the most important thing that we're facing right now is nuclear, the nuclear capacity of countries all over the world. If I cannot bring anything else home to you, let me make you understand this. If we get into a nuclear war, racism, sexism, education, all of those things will not matter. We must have a president that can sit down with Vladimir Putin, with Kim Jong-un, with Xi, all of these people with whomever is over Iran right now. We must have someone that can sit down with them and stop this war that's about to turn into World War III. Yes, they make a lot of money. The firm makes a lot of money off of war, but guess what? We won't survive it, so it will not matter. So instead of you criticizing everything that Donald Trump does, Give us your policies. Tell us what you're going to do. Tell me why I need to vote for Kamala that has nothing to do with her race. I couldn't care less
Yes.
about her race or her gender if my whole country, the entire world, no longer exists. That's what we're looking for. Talk to us about policies, and then we'll listen.
Whew. Oh man, I got the chills because that is true. That is true. Democrats are speaking hate speech about Donald Trump so much. That is their campaign push. That is what they're pushing. Hate speech on Donald Trump, not policies. Just recently, I encountered or heard that Kamala Harris initiated a policy that Donald Trump initiated a few months ago. No tax on tips. And she says that she's going to, work with the border and do this is what irks me the most is you are vice president now. You can do this now. Shout out in the chat if you agree. Hit the like button as well. This is true. Like, you could be doing this now. If you want to do these things and you want to change, do it now. Don't wait. Just do it now. And, honestly, actions speak louder than words. And her actions, even as AG in California, they weren't good. She wasn't able to deliver anything. Anyways, I'm going to jump into Kevin O'Leary demolishing Tim Walz.
Latest reading I saw was almost 60% of Americans are invested in the market, whether it's a pension, a 401k, and yet the Democrat VP nominee, Tim Walz.
Oh, how many of you guys are invested? How many of you guys are investing right now? If you're not investing right now, and you have the extra cash, or you want to invest like a baller, but you're not a baller yet, there is a link in the description below. It's for a platform that I absolutely love. It's called, it's for medical lean investing. It's GoVesty. Check it out.
Has zero money in investments. What do you make of someone trying to run the country with zero investment acumen?
I didn't know anything about the VP candidate, Tim, and so I did some digging last week. I got the data last Friday. He is not a good manager. If you look at,
he's not. Neither is Kamala.
Manager. If you look at his stewardship of his state, Minnesota, it's been not good. And I'll tell you how I measure it. People say, oh, you're partisan. No, I'm not. I'm looking at the track record of an individual who came into a state and wiped out job creation. He wiped out job creation in professional, in manufacturing.
And he burned it to the ground.
In accounting, in every subcategory you look at, those jobs moved to South Dakota and North Dakota. The South Dakota job rate right now is 4 times that of Minnesota. Minnesota only creates jobs in services that are funded by the government, healthcare and social services. Every other sector is in decline. He's also added a surcharge of 1%, 100 basis points, on top of 9.8% taxes on individuals that are retiring. And of course, they're leaving the state in droves. He's the best governor for Texas, for Florida, for North and South Dakota, but not for Minnesota.
And that's exactly right. That's where they all went, Kevin.
Tampon teasy. JD Vance was, hold on. Oh, yeah. We respect our neighbors. So JD Vance tweeted or X'd. I thank Tim for your service. Oh, hi, Tim. I thank you for your service, but you shouldn't have lied about it. You shouldn't have said you went to war and you didn't. Nor should you have said you didn't know that your unit was going to Iraq. Happy to discuss this in the debate. I'm excited to see the debate between JD and Walz. How many of you guys are excited to see it as well? Drop your comments down below. Let me know. So this is what
felt the Call of Duty.
This is from earlier today, depending on when, earlier Tuesday, 8/13/2024.
Then in 2005, I felt the Call of Duty again, this time of being service to my country in the halls of Congress. My students inspired me to run for that office, and I was proud to make it to Washington. I was a member of the Veterans Affairs Committee and a champion of our men and women in uniform.
He's a creep.
I'm going to say it again as clearly as I can. I am damn proud of my service to this country. And I firmly believe you should never denigrate another person's service record. Anyone brave enough to put on that uniform for our great country, including my opponent, I just have a few simple words. Thank you for your service and sacrifice.
I've said this before. I think they got an applause button over there while they're at these rallies. Now, Tim Walz had said in this same situation that we just watched, we respect our neighbors and we respect their personal choices. Yet, during the vid pandemic, he created a snitch line for neighbors and people to snitch on their neighbors if they weren't wearing masks.
In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and we respect their personal choices. Now look.
Then why'd you set up a hotline?
Look. It's not difficult. I might not agree with my neighbor's choices or make the same one. But this country's great because we have a golden rule that makes things work. We mind our own damn business on those things. We mind our own damn business.
These people are gas lighting. These people are they're just spewing garbage. Tim Walz lied about carrying weapons of war. He held a sign at the OEF. He held a sign claiming to be an OEF veteran. He claimed for years that he was a retired commander sergeant major. He abandoned his unit before they deployed to Iraq. I'm sure you guys remember this footage here.
Weapons of war that I carried in war is weapons of war that I carried in war is
weapons of war that you carried in war. And here's his sign here. This is a clown show with these folks, man. This is a clown show. Again, Harris's campaign is freaking out. They're putting out crazy bullcrap ads stating that they're sponsored by CBS, MSNBC, all these things. And they posted that thing on X saying that, to support us, donate $25. But meanwhile, hundreds of migrants are crossing the border. And Kamala Harris is the border czar. Earlier today, hundreds of people, including families, were being kicked out of their apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado, after a Venezuelan migrant gang took over the building. Harris's open border policy is fully responsible for this. Some tenants have no idea where they're going, and they don't know where they're going to end up after their vouchers end.
police officers arrived to the scene here at this apartment complex just before 7 a.m. carrying out evictions. And now dozens of tenants who used to live here are now looking for a place to stay. You can see just the red and blue X that are on these apartment doors. And that's just a signal that this place has been, that they have already carried out the evictions, that this place has been vacated, and now the cleanup begins here. Now, we watched as code enforcement and police officers went door to door to make sure that each of the apartment was cleared out. Piles of trash, they're being cleared out in the parking lot. We showed you that a little bit earlier, but the city of Aurora, they're also paying for this trash to be picked up.
So right now it's just kind of a waiting game for a lot of these tenants. They tell us they're not really sure what's going on, but they're upset at how the situation is being handled. You can see there's a lot of activity going on, a lot of children. Police are just here in the area. They just got here not that long ago, but it's unclear how they'll be moving people out, how they'll be taking them to the hotels. A lot of activity going on here.
I have a question also. Maybe somebody in the chat can conversate about this, but are vice presidents allowed to use Air Force 2 as a form of travel for their presidential campaign? It was a question that came up a couple days ago in the chat, and I wasn't sure about it. And maybe somebody in the chat knows what's up. Democratic city officials of Aurora, Colorado kicked out dozens of black families out of their apartment complex because Venezuelan migrant gangsters took over the building. Kamala Harris did this. It certainly wouldn't be the first time her actions led to destruction of black families. This time, her open borders that she refused to visit or address is the reason for all of this.
Many outgoing people, many of the residents that we talk to here simply say they have not had enough time to find more permanent housing, and they're really caught in the middle this morning.
I thought there would be some compassion, maybe a little bit of an extension to help these people find somewhere to go. They put some paperwork on our doors saying, if you find a place to go, we'll pay your deposit in first month's rent. I bet you $100 to $1. Nobody has been put or placed or helped find somewhere to go.
Now, the building's management says that the problem stems from gangs that have pretty much overrun the entire building and taken control of the building. They say it's not the code violations that the city claims.
Gross. A signature Biden-Harris admin program to quickly remove illegal migrant families are allowing 90% of them to stay. Of 24,000 migrants who were put into family expedited removal programs since May 2023, more than 22,000 of them will be allowed to stay. This is an article from the New York Post. All these ads on the New York Post, man. Biden program meant to remove illegal immigrant families instead allowed 90% of people to 90% of migrants to stay. 24,000 migrants who were put in the family expedited removal program since May 2023. 22,000 of them were allowed to stay. And only 2,600 were deported. That's a little over 10%. Bananas. These numbers are further proof that the Biden-Harris administration policies have nothing to do with actually securing the borders or enforcing the law, but instead of masking their utter refusal to do either of those things, says Housing Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green. Such a dismal rate of removals makes it clear that President Biden and the border czar, Kamala Harris, and now impeached DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas are committed to ignoring U.S. immigration law while attempting to hide the fact hide this fact from American people. Ultimately, these individuals are simply responsible. Detain and remove those who have no lawful bias here in the United States. The program, which was announced in 2023, touted as a way to instill consequences for unlawful entry in the U.S. by placing ankle monitors on adult family members. The idea that migrant families are difficult to deport from the U.S. if they arrive with children, but the Family Expedited Removal Program was meant to keep families together while officers process them. However, from the start, it had major loopholes, allowing those who were meant to be removed to receive a screening to determine whether they have legitimate reason to fear to returning to their home country. Biden administration hoped the program would address expedited surge of migrants crossing the southern border illegally after the end of Title 42. This was a policy during the Trump era, during COVID. Border agents have recorded and encountered 800,000 migrants, the ones that they can count, family members crossing the southern border illegally since 2023, when the program began, according to the federal data. And that's just the ones that they can count. That's just the ones that they can count. New York City will likely surpass $5 billion in spending on services for migrants, including nearly $2 billion alone in housing the new arrivals flooding into the Big Apple. This is another article from the New York Post. These numbers are staggering. New York has likely surpassed $5 billion spending on servicing migrants. What is up with these freaking ads, man? Eye-popping figures list on the city's online asylum-seeking funder tracker shows that the city will overall spend $4.8 billion combined through the fiscal year 2023 and 2024. Based on the rate of spending, the city is likely to exceed $112 million since the start of the new fiscal year beginning July 1. Crazy. Here's the budget numbers right here. $1.9 billion in housing and rent, $2 billion on services and supplies, $5 million on food and medical costs, $5 million in IT and administration costs. NYPD alone has spent $20 million on public safety and security costs amid mayhem breaking out around the city and migrant shelters. The cost of crisis equals nearly the entire budget of the NYPD Blue at NYPD at $5.75 billion. This is insane. Insane. It's crazy. And then also in Chicago, they have been attempting to clean up the streets, quote unquote, because the DNC's come in there. They're doing it for the DNC, but they haven't done it for the citizens of Chicago. Sounds very similar to the situation that occurred in California with Gavin Newsom. That to me, with the immigration illegals coming over, that if that continues, that is going to destroy our country. I'm going to share very inspirational Trump ad, and then we'll get out of here.
It's my honor to introduce the 45th and soon to be 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. And we will bring our country back together. Bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before. And together we will win, win, win.
I have never, ever been prouder of President Trump, of my president, than when he stood up with blood all over his face and he raised his fist in defiance and he shook his fist.
They're not coming after me. They're coming after you. And I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving.
He's not meant to be stopped. He's meant to help fix this country.
On November 5th, 2024, we will take back our country and we will make America great again.
Guys, that concludes the news recap for today. Lefties are losing it. I'm excited to see what tomorrow brings. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Drop your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe. Truly appreciate each and every single one of you guys. And as always, I will catch you on the next.